Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed to a Wednesday edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast, championship edition, as we got to recap the Florida Panthers hoisting their second Stanley Cup last night. And we're always broadcasting here from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios. We also want to give a shout out to Chumley's Depot in downtown Melbourne and Walk On Sports Bistreaux in Vieira. Let's bring on this guy. He loves himself some hockey. He's my great friend, Alan Zlotorzynski, Brevard Sports Network. Alan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. Oh, Canada. What's up, buddy?
All right, so usually Alan comes on with me on Tuesday, but I told him as a program director, no, you have to come on after the Panthers win the Cup. I knew they were going to get it done last night. And you know what? That was dominating. It was all right. You know what's the best way to put it, Alan? I want your thoughts. Edmonton pulled their goalie with 7 minutes to go in the third period.
Yeah.
It was 3-0, dominating performance. What'd you think of the Panthers last night to clinch the Cup?
Listen, I thought the Florida Panthers did something that you don't often see. And that is dominate the first period of every game. The Panthers came out last night and they immediately let the Edmonton Oilers know they were winning the Stanley Cup last night. They scored 2 goals in the first period last night. They get that goal at the end of the first period. And I really think then, Mark, it was over. This first period in these Stanley Cup finals have been so important. I mean, 15-4 is the goal differential between Florida and Edmonton in that first period. Edmonton's been, other than game one, Mark, Edmonton's been chasing Florida around in every game of this series, and last night was certainly no exception.
They were great games. Game 1 and 2 both went to overtime. Game 3 dominated by Florida. Game 4, overtime win by Edmonton. So you're like, all right, 2-2. Let's see what we got. This has been a great series. And then just games 5 and 6. It's like in wrestling where you chokehold someone and they submit and it's over. Was it just Florida was just so overpowering, more physical? Did they wear down Edmonton?
Absolutely they did. They rolled 4 lines constantly. These 4 lines look like they had been playing together for 10 years out there. Edmonton, to me, still felt last night like they were trying to figure some things out with their line pairing combinations. A little bit too late in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals to get that done. The forecheck of the Florida Panthers, the way they created turnovers, the way they took those turnovers and turned them into scoring chances. I don't know that I've seen a team as good as them in recent years be able to do that. They put a lot of pressure on Edmonton. In fact, they led this Stanley Cup final, Mark, for 255 of the 480 minutes played in this. That is a Stanley Cup final record. No team has led more during the Stanley Cup finals in ever than the Florida Panthers have. They led for 61% of this series. And I think that statistic right there shows you just how dominating they were, considering the fact that 30% of this series, Mark, was tied.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're here with Alan Zlotorzynski. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I look at the playoff run overall. You dominate Tampa. You dominate Toronto. Carolina never had a chance, and they wore down Edmonton. And let's be clear here. Edmonton's a great team. They've been to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, and they might have the best player on the planet. And they wore them down as well. How dominant overall playoff performance, 4 rounds, were the Panthers, buddy?
Well, they went. I would disagree slightly with the dominating of Toronto. That was a series that went 7 games, but you're right. They did dominate Tampa. I didn't pick them to win the series against Carolina. Yeah. I watched Carolina play the Capitals and thought it would be Carolina winning the Stanley Cup this year. But Florida rendered anything the Hurricanes wanted to do useless, dominated that series. And again, Mark, for all intent and purpose, Edmonton, it required 2 overtime wins for Edmonton to beat Florida. Okay. For all intent and purpose, Mark, they just ran roughshod over poor Edmonton. And I mean, now poor Canada, 31 years or 31 seasons, 32 years. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers become the first team to lose back-to-back Stanley Cup finals since the 1977 and 78 Boston Bruins.
Reinhart last night, 4 goals. Now, I know 2 of them are empty netters, but 4 goals, buddy, in a clicker. How good was he last night?
Yeah, he was great, man. Not done since the great Maurice Rocket Richard scored 4 goals in a Stanley Cup final game back in 1957. So he's certainly in some premier territory there. But I think you look at this team as a whole, Mark, and yes, certainly Reinhart, but you look at Sam Bennett, who wins the Conn Smythe, thank God, okay, deservedly. Could you imagine if they'd given that to Connor McDavid again?
I know, man.
Right?
Yeah, 15 goals. 15
yeah.
goals, 5 in the final, the Stanley Cup final. He was
great.
Yeah,
I think, he puts his name up there with guys like Bossy, Gretzky, Lemieux, for the most goals in a 7-game Stanley Cup final. But even more than that, Keith Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe, 3 outstanding players for this team, all of them tied with 23 points during the Cup run. That's the 3rd time in as many years that Tkachuk has shared the club lead in terms of points. So I think when you look at this team and you talk about their ability, what do we always say that you have to be able to do to win a Stanley Cup? You have to be able to roll 4 lines. You have to be 4 lines deep. No question about it. Or you won't even be in the Stanley Cup final. You have to play great defense. You have to have outstanding goaltending, and you have to play disciplined hockey. And I thought the Florida Panthers did all of those things far better than did the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers were still trying to figure out their goaltending situation as to which goalie was going to give them the better edge. Sergei Bobrovsky certainly was that guy for Florida. This was a complete and utter team effort. 2 straight Stanley Cup for Florida, 4 in the last 5 years for the state of Florida. This is Mark. I don't think people truly understand, or when we look back on this 25 years from now, people are going to go, "Is that right?
It is."
Did the state of Florida really go to 6 straight Stanley Cup finals, and did they win 4 of them?
Mm-hmm. They did. You're absolutely right. Okay, last year, they win the Game 7 at home. It's their first ever one. It kind of felt like, and this just is my opinion, like they stole it. Like, hey, we got hot at the right time. We won it. This one feels like it solidifies. This is an all-time great crew. And I think a lot of the names you said, and I want your thoughts on this, a lot of these guys you brought up, Tkachuk, Marchand, a guy you haven't brought up, Barkov, the captain, right? All these guys, Seth Jones they got from the Blackhawks, all these different guys they got, right? Verhaeghe, all of them, they're all-timers now. I think all these guys have a chance now to go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, Marchand's a lock anyway from Boston, but look, these guys are all-timers, and in 25 years, not only will you say like they winning all these cups, these are great players who have gotten to their potential to be champions. And Bob in goal, you think of all-time great goalies, he's now won 2 of them for a chance to win more. I now think these guys, all of them are all-time greats for what they've accomplished. What do you think?
No, I completely agree with you, Mark. And I mean, you go down the list. I mean, there's, guys like Evan Rodriguez, and so you're right. Again, it's a very deep hockey team, and they've got a great, and listen, I think it's important to remember what Paul Maurice has brought to this team, Mark. Yeah, I think it is extremely important. Just because this was a franchise that had won 4 playoff series in the 28 years they existed, Mark. They went to the Stanley Cup final one year, so that was 3 series. Back in 2022, right, they won 1. Since that time, now Paul Maurice was on that coached that team. But since that time, they have won 11 of 12 series, 2 Stanley Cups, and the only series they lost, the only one they lost, was to the Vegas Golden Knights when Vegas won the Stanley Cup.
You're absolutely right. So Tkachuk, he made a comment. It's something we brought up a couple weeks ago. He said, "Oh, this is a dynasty." No, you got to win 3. Is the bar 3, buddy, to be a dynasty?
Yeah, it is. I think 3. I think with this team, if they win another Stanley Cup in the next 2 years, they can cement the dynasty. They are the 3rd team since 2000 to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Pittsburgh did it in 26 and 2017. Of course, the Lightning did it in 20 and 21. The Lightning are always going to have an asterisk next to that 2020 Stanley Cup. They just are, just because of COVID and the bubble and who they beat to win the Stanley Cup, because the Canadians had no business being there. But, I think about it, and look, I mean, they've been to 3 straight Stanley Cup. I will say this. I certainly think they have the D, Y, the N, the A, and the S of this, okay? They can win another Stanley Cup. They'll have the T and the Y added to it.
I will say this one more time, and I appreciate coming on. You look at these big names. So Tkachuk, probably the best American player we have. I saw a thing of like Olympics for next year, and it showed rosters for the different teams for the Olympics. Yeah, Tkachuk and his brother. Yeah, Team USA all the way. So Barkov.
Yeah, he got that notification the day before Game 6, but go ahead.
I was going to say, all right, so you got Tkachuk, all-timer now. You got Barkov, the captain, first European, I think, captain to win 2 cups. I think that was another thing. You have Marchand again, who was just, you think of a guy at the trade deadline, godsend for this team. You have those 3 guys who'd be the number 1 option on other teams, and they didn't win the Conn Smythe, and was another guy because he was just as good. So you got 4 guys who could be a number 1 option on any other team. I'm with you. They are loaded this year.
I don't know if Marchand will be back.
No.
That's a tough decision, he's going to have to come up with. But look, kudos to him. Florida hated him. Hated him 3 years ago. Hated him last year. Don't forget it was the, Florida Panthers that gave the Boston Bruins a ton of fits in the playoffs over these last couple of years, right, during these runs. And, Marchand and the Panthers went to war many, 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 many times. Yeah, they're just loaded. Look, and you can have talent and not know what to do with it, okay?
Point.
Edmonton, listen, the fact that I got the feeling they were still trying to figure some things out in Game 6 is speaks to my point on that. They got Leon Draisaitl. They got the best player on the planet, Connor McDavid. They have good goaltending. They're no fluke of a team. And the Panthers just absolutely rolled them, Mark. They rolled them in this Stanley Cup final. And I think a lot of people also forget, too, that Florida, you could tell that this was a team that clearly learned their lesson from last year. Because don't forget, Florida led that series last year against Edmonton 3-0. What people are going to remember most about the first cup last year was that it went 7 games. Florida should have won that thing in 4 or 5.
Great point. I agree with you, Alan.
But they let that thing get to 7. They were not. I think that the sentiment in the dressing room was this. Look, they beat us twice, but they had no business beating us twice. Don't forget, in one of those games, they give up 3 straight goals. So I think Florida felt all along like they were the much better hockey team, and they showed it in the last 2 games. They were not going to let Edmonton have control of this series back when Edmonton came all the way back and tied this thing up in Game 4.
You know what's interesting? So I've known Alan for a long time, and he's a great friend of mine. He does, a great job covering sports here in Florida with Brevard Sports Network. I thought we'd come on the air today and break down an actual game, like X's and O's, and, oh, man, did you see that pass? What'd you think of this? Coaching decision? No, they kicked their ass early, like you're saying.
They did. It was over early.
It was over. When we went to second intermission, even the guys TNT, the studio show, they're just like, all right, let's get ready. Where's the cup?
Yeah, it's like, wait. It was funny watching Wayne Gretzky the last 2 years because Gretz is an Oiler, and that's his team.
It's his team.
That's his team, right?
Mm.
And to watch them get bounced around the way they did the last 2 years, you could just – they freeze-framed it on Gretz's face. I don't think he was happy about this either. They freeze-framed it on Gretzky's face last night when the Panthers started celebrating the Stanley Cup. He was not happy.
No, he was not. Connor McDavid, I want to go over this with you. I don't know what his offseason's going to look like. He is not going to be happy. And I bet you he is sick to his stomach. Just think about this. You get to Game 7 last year, you fall short. Whole offseason, whole regular season, a year, 12 months to get back to this point, and you lose to the same team again from South Florida. If you are Edmonton and maybe the country of Canada, what do you do today, buddy, after that?
Well, first of all, it would not shock me to see Connor McDavid in an American hockey uniform sometime in the next 2 years.
Oh, you mean leaving Edmonton?
Yeah, I don't.
Team.
Mark, I don't believe there's maybe the NFL might be the people just don't know how incredibly hard it is to get to the Stanley Cup final. I don't think people understand the brutality of the National Hockey League. Wait until it comes out with the injuries that some of these guys were playing with in the Stanley Cup finals. You remember a couple of years ago, the goaltender from when the Lightning played the Blackhawks in the Lightning goalie was playing with a torn hamstring, right? Yeah. I mean, people don't realize what these guys put themselves through. The Edmonton Oilers will not be back in the Stanley Cup finals next year. That is my prediction.
You're calling it.
Yeah, I am. Listen, and I'm not so sure Connor McDavid is an Edmonton Oiler in 2 years either.
He's calling two bold statements there. I like it. Kachuk, by the way, he said he has a hernia and he has some other injury as well. So I'm back.
Can you imagine playing with a freaking hernia, skating, pushing off with a hernia?
He scored last night.
Yeah.
Goal. And then I don't know if you saw this. So they didn't go to sleep. So this morning they were in Fort Lauderdale at what is it called? The Elbow Room or something. And it's some famous bar. They were there at 8:30 this morning with the Stanley Cup. 8:30 drinking, partying. So my question for you, I've been waiting all day to ask you this. When's the last time you were up till the crack of dawn? Like you went all night and you kept going into the morning. When was the last time that happened, Alan, for you?
Party?
Yeah, party. Nonstop. He's got to think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while, man. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly done it many times over. As far as the last time, I mean, look at this face. How can this face not have done that for a good portion of my 20s? Yeah, I don't know, man. I would probably have to say maybe the night of my 30th birthday party.
Okay, I like you. All right, so it's funny you say that. I remember I was 29 years old with my buddy Brett Kane, who I worked with. We were in Omaha, Nebraska, and we went to the bars. We went all night, and I remember seeing the sun come up. That's the last time I've done that or had the willpower or body power to get
Now, there was a night within the last 5 years, I will say. Now, I wasn't partying, but I do remember seeing the sun. I was laying on a local dock here somewhere. I do remember just laying there all night watching the sun come up.
Really?
Well, yeah,
Yeah. This is like a Baywatch at night with David Hasselhoff. What's going on? Oh, man. Dude, think about playing that 3-hour hockey game, Stanley Cup final game. You win the championship. You're partying all night, and then you just keep going. Oh, man, those guys. Those guys are super athletes.
Yeah, they are. And here's an interesting tidbit. I just looked it up. McDavid is going to enter the final year of a contract in Edmonton, a $12.5 million cap hit there. So, yeah, Edmonton and McDavid have some decisions to make.
Will a team from Canada win the cup in your lifetime? Will it happen?
Yeah, I mean, come on, you would think so, right?
You would think. You would think, buddy.
30. I thought this was the year. I did, man. I thought Edmonton would take them this year. I don't know, Mark. I mean, it is tough to say. Maybe Winnipeg bounces back, but that's sort of anticlimactic to have Winnipeg do it. Mark. It's not going to be maybe Toronto. I mean, right now you have 3 teams that could do it. Right? You have Toronto, you have Winnipeg, and you have Edmonton. I don't see Edmonton getting back. Toronto, they threw everything they had with the kitchen sink in Florida and couldn't win. I don't know, Mark. I honestly don't know.
It's okay. Look, like you said, it's been over 30 years. They have multiple teams. The other thing is that there's a hard salary cap in hockey. So you really have no excuse. It's not like baseball where you're the Pittsburgh Pirates trying to compete with the Dodgers. So, and you have great players. You know what? I don't know either. I don't know. All right, I've seen the Cubs win. I've seen the Red Sox win. My White Sox in baseball. Those are all curses for like 100 years. This thing with Canada, I don't know now.
Let me ask you this. What's been the biggest shocker in your lifetime, right? Watching Florida, now think about this. Watching Florida do what they have done, the state of Florida, winning 4 of the last 5 Stanley Cups, watching Tampa Bay and Florida win Stanley Cups like this. I mean, the state of Florida couldn't be any further away from Canada. Or watching like the Chicago Cubs, end that drought, or the Boston Red Sox, break the curse of the Bambino. What's been more impressive to you?
I think the Cubs and Red Sox winning is the crazy, because you never thought it would happen.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, by the way, because the Cubs just always sucked. And it was the way that the Red Sox won that World Series that year, coming back 0-3 from the Yankees in the American League Championship Series that year. I mean, they're down 3-0 in the ALCS. No team has ever come back from that, and the Red Sox win 4 straight.
All right, here's the thing about the state of Florida. It doesn't snow here unless you live, Redneck Riviera, or, like, I'm sorry, I've said, you're in northern Florida by Georgia. Okay, maybe. But everywhere else, it doesn't snow here. There's no outdoor ice rinks. And honestly, and I could be wrong, I know we have the Rockledge Iceplex here in Brevard County. There's not many kids skating on ice skates, learning to play hockey in this state. That's what's so crazy. Go on.
No, I was going to say, and some moron will spend the summer overthinking this. Why is the teams in Florida winning Stanley Cups and nobody else is right now? Some moron will overthink this and come up with some sort of idiotic conclusion like, well, it's warm down there. You can work at, somebody will come up with some reason as to why they believe these teams are succeeding as they are. Take it no further than this. Both teams have great front offices. John Cooper, I don't like him, but he's a great coach in Tampa. That's why he's still there. Yeah. Okay. He's one of the best in the league. And so is Paul Maurice. You got 2 of the best teams in the state in the sport right here, 240 miles apart. God bless us.
I'll say this also, because you've been there to Sunrise. You've been to this stadium. I think, didn't you cover the NHL draft there once as well?
I have.
You do. I've been there multiple times. Let's be clear. the last decade or so, you go there because you're a Boston Bruins fan, you're a Red Wings fan, you're a Capitals fan, a Rangers, a Hawks fan, and you overtake the whole stadium. And there was times where the Panthers were an away team in their home arena. And now it feels like what they've done the last 3 years, they've solidified themselves as a real franchise. I think the people in South Florida, and you know what? It's come up here to Central Florida as well. They have fans now. They like winning, and I think they're a legit franchise. I'm not kidding around. I said this last year. I'm going to say it again today. I think they've solidified themselves as a big boy franchise that now has banners, and they have to be taken seriously, and they're going to beat your brains in for 3 periods on the ice. I'm very proud of the Panthers and what they've accomplished.
I can remember. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Listen, I think I was overtaken the first time I went to Sunrise, and it's just like it's like you just put stands on its own. You know, it's like nothing around it. You know what I mean? It's like right off the highway, and it's right there. You know, see, I think there were a couple of roads you got to take to get back to it. But look, I mean, yes to all of that. And let's not forget, you know, I mean, think about this. The Florida Panthers' first year of existence was 1993, 1994. Oh, my God. Think about that, too. The Florida Panthers came into existence in 1993 and 94. The last time a team from Canada won the Stanley Cup, the Florida Panthers weren't even an NHL franchise. All right. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Oh, my God. So they come into existence. They go to a Stanley Cup final. Shockingly, a lot of that on the backs of John Van Beesbrook.
Uh-huh.
Okay, their goalie at the time.
I had as a kid, I had a Van Beesbrook T-shirt because I thought it was so cool. I had one, dude, and they did.
Thing. Yeah, they did the rat thing. Van Beesbrook, great times in Florida. Then they make that one appearance, and you're thinking, well, they're even talking about the Atlanta Flames move, right? And right before and after COVID, they're talking about maybe moving the Panthers, right? Would the Panthers be a viable move candidate? No, they're not going to. They're not going to let that happen. We're gonna build something here, and they did.
You know what's funny about that '96 team? They took on the Colorado Avalanche, and that was the first year of the Avalanche. Because were they the Quebec Nordiques?
Yep.
Is that what they were? Another Canadian team.
Yeah.
In Colorado. Man, you know what? It's funny you were bringing up baseball. So I don't think there's any more curses in baseball. Maybe Cleveland Guardians, maybe. But I think the curse now in sports is Canadian hockey. I think that's what it is.
It's got to be. What is it? The curse of Patrick Waugh? I mean, what do you want to call this thing? I mean, when Patrick Waugh left the Canadians, he said, I hope this freaking franchise never wins another Stanley Cup. By God, they haven't.
You're absolutely right. I'll just say this. So my buddy Doug Plagans is the play-by-play voice of the Florida Panthers, and you got to get him on your show sometime.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's the same age as me. I think of him where, he worked his way up through the minor leagues, calling minor league hockey for years, and he finally got a chance. Hey, you could be an NHL play-by-play guy. Okay, what team am I going to get to do? The Florida Panthers. And I bet you there was this feeling around the league like, hey, I cover the NHL. I call the games for an NHL team. And they're like, yeah, but it's not the Boston job. It's not the Rangers job. But now when I think of Doug, and I text him all the time, dude, he's called 3 straight Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah.
3 straight.
Yeah.
So cool.
Listen, it's why, and he's very entertaining, by the way. Him and the guy from Tampa are both very entertaining to listen to. I mean, listen, when you and I are having this conversation, we might get 15 people watching this because it's unfortunate because at least in Brevard County, it's just not a big deal that Florida's won another Stanley Cup. But even if you're from the north and you've migrated to Brevard County, you know what a big deal this is.
All right, I will say this then. If you could see my Facebook timeline, yeah, people were posting about this. And you know why? Because they're called the Florida Panthers. They're not Fort Lauderdale Panthers or Sunrise. It's the Florida. And I get it. Look, hockey's not for everyone. But guess what? For some reason, in our state, we're good at hockey now. We're not good at college football. We're not good at the NFL. I don't get it either.
The NBA.
Exactly. All right. You do a great job. I sort of say this with I know you had Coach Sands on last night.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the high school coaches. Yeah, dude, don't worry. We're not far from high school football and college, the NFL. It's right around.
Whoa, slow down. I'm okay. All right. Slow down, cowboy.
You're gonna enjoy.
Slow down. Dude, I just got back from the doctors, right? Slow down, okay?
You're not ready for training camp next month? You're not ready for that?
I know. Slow down, son. We'll get there.
All right. We'll end with this with Alan. What's the game plan? Is Alan going to take a vacation? What's he doing?
No, we're actually going to do a little show tonight. Me and Knock and guy you turned me on to, Xavier. We're going to do a little show tonight, kind of recapping the world of sports here locally and across the country for about an hour. Have some fun. And I got I got the EAFL Super Bowls, the minor league football Super Bowls coming up Saturday. So we've had smittens of things going on, but nothing consistent.
All right, here's what I'll ask you. All right, you see behind me, I have that pennant is from the Lightning. So I think I got that when I first started here in, I don't know, 2013 or 14. That's autographed by a lot of the players. So like Steven Stamkos is on there, a bunch of players. I have to get a Panthers one, don't I? For behind me, I got to do that. Yeah, I'm a pennant guy. I like to get. You have behind you. You have footballs. You have jerseys. You got a lot of different stuff. I got to get a Panthers thing. So
I got a Panthers hockey mask around here somewhere. It's It's a goalie mask.
Oh, like
for the Florida.
Yes,
yeah, it's just like that, but the Florida Panthers. I don't know where that thing got off to.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna have to work on that. Alan, Panthers get it done.
Yeah,
they get it done. They're the champs. So, final question.
Okay.
Can they win it again next year?
Yeah, they can. My only fear is that, as we see, to go deep into mid-June is a lot of hockey. I thought Paul Maurice handled it well this year. Look, they weren't barn burners during the regular season. You know, these guys, they were a 4 seed overall out of the East, right? I think Paul Maurice can play it. I think he can navigate the regular season next year. Get in there. You don't have to win the President's Cup trophy. Be a 3 or a 4 seed again. Get your guys some rest during the season. Get them ready for the long haul in mid-June. But the style that they play, the personnel that they have, yes, they can win another Stanley Cup. It will depend on, can they stay healthy, and can they find a guy or two like Seth Jones and Brad Marchand again?
If I had the cup, it'd be my honor to drink beer out of it with you. I hope you know that.
I appreciate that. You know, I've actually been blessed to have seen and kissed the Stanley Cup before in my lifetime.
Oh.
Yes. Oh. I'll send you a picture of that. So I've done that before. Yeah, I think they can do it.
Yeah, I think they can too. Alan, thanks for your help and have a great day. All right, man.
Thanks, buddy.